Probably just as well.
Oh, look, Cindy was keeping track of time so perfectly.
Are you ready, Sylvia, or do we need to wait?
Nope, you can go ahead.
We're good? Okay. So we'll begin by starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
To the flag
of the United
of the United States of America
and
to
to
the
the
and
republic
to the republic
stands
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
and
justice
justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. So in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Laws of 1975 of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the South River Board of Education was provided in the following manner. On November 24th, 2020, the notice was delivered to the office of the South River Borough Clerk and posted at the Board of Education Administration Building. On November 24th, the notice was faxed, mailed to the following newspapers: Home News Tribune, Sentinel. On November 24th, 2020, the notice was posted at the South River Borough Clerk's office. Due to the state of emergency declared by the state of New Jersey and the United States government regarding COVID-19, this meeting is being held by way of video conference in order for the Board of Education to conduct its business. This meeting is being conducted virtually, and a link to the meeting invitation has been posted to the district website so the public may join and provide comment. Upon joining the meeting, all participants will have their audio muted. If anyone from the public would like to be recognized during open comment portions of the meeting, they may do so by using the chat feature. Here, members of the public must send their name and address to the meeting host, Brian Dougherty. You will be recognized to speak by the host at the appropriate time, and your audio will be enabled. Participants for open comment will be called in the order that they were received. This meeting is being recorded, and a link to meeting will be made available on the district website upon completion. Can we have the roll call, Mr. Kokoska?
Mr. Bazak,
Here.
Mr. Budson,
Here.
Mrs. Bush,
Here,
Mrs. Lell,
Here.
Mr. Nielsen,
Here.
Mr. Rosanno,
Here.
Mr. Rashitar,
Here.
Mrs. Sadowski,
Here.
Mrs. Urbanik,
Here.
Ms.
Thank you.
Almeida.
Oh, sorry. Is
okay.
Ms. Almeida?
She's not attending tonight. She's excused.
Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda, we do have minutes of the September 24th and October 29th and November 23rd regular meeting minutes. We have the November 16th special meeting minutes and the November 19th pre-meeting minutes. Board members, what is your pleasure on these minutes?
Move the minutes in accordance with board policies.
That's a motion by Mr. Nielsen. Is there a second?
Second. Beza.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Basak. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the next item, Mr. Kokoska, do we have any use of facilities for this evening?
No, there's no items on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is our financial report. Ms. Lell.
Hi, everyone. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby certifies that it is in receipt of the financial report, which indicates that no major account has been over-expended and that sufficient funds are available to meet the district's financial obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. The Finance Committee recommends that the report to the Board Secretary and Treasury of School Monies for October 2020 be approved, and I so move. The PDF was attached to our information.
Second.
Okay, thank you. That was a motion by Ms. Lell and a second by Mr. Rosanno. Are there any questions or comments on the financial report? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. At this time, we're going to turn our meeting over to our Superintendent of Schools, Ms. Zurcher, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Urbanik. Well, I didn't even have a chance to put this in our report, but as you're aware, last week we ended up using our first of 3 snow days. And it was actually a pleasure to see some of our students taking the opportunity to play in the snow, sledding behind our schools, and just really enjoying the first snow day of that type that we have really seen in quite a while. And it was a good thing we had that snow day. We did end up having some families who experienced a lot of outages all the way into the weekend. So we were conscientious about that and advised our teachers to please be really thoughtful of the fact that our students may not have been able to log in over the weekend, Friday and over the weekend, and to really be conscientious about assignments, upcoming tests, etc. I know that was a concern for some of our families, but it looks like we're back on as of this morning. We resumed our classes as business as usual today, and had a good day back to school today. I want to begin my superintendent's report for December by congratulating those students that were honored into the National Honor Society this year. Usually around this time, we get to do a celebration over at the Ria Mar. We combine this with our Wall of Fame. So the induction was a little bit different this year. We're hoping that we can do an in-person induction in the spring, but still these students really deserve true recognition. These have not been easy times, and these students have persevered, have continued their academic studies as well as their extracurricular activities, and the list of activities that our students are engaged in it's just unbelievable. Every year I ask myself, how do they find the time to accomplish all of this and then also get such high honors and such good grades? So really, it's just a pleasure to be able to honor these students upon their induction. I want to talk a little bit about our remote learning center that is up and running. We opened the remote learning center on December 10th, and we did this to address the need for childcare services for those families who had selected a hybrid learning environment for the second marking period. We opened up the RLC to grades K through 8. And if you remember, when we made the decision to revert back to remote instruction, the major reason why we did so wasn't because we were necessarily afraid of transmissions of COVID within our school. We hadn't seen that. But we were really concerned with the lack of coverage we had when we had to quarantine our staff for outside exposures. So being able to provide the RLC gives students a safe environment to do their online learning while their parents can attend to the responsibilities that they need to as well. We have many students attending the program 4 days a week. I think this says 52 students. As of now, I believe we're at 55 students enrolled. They receive breakfast in the morning, lunch, they get frequent breaks, but they really stay engaged in their learning throughout the day. So they receive the instruction from their teacher while they are supervised and supported by a group of our lunch aides who have been fantastic, really, at helping the kids move along in their programs. So it's going really well. Our students in the RLC have gone through COVID testing. They do the saliva-based test. This process has been easy. I'm happy to report that we haven't had any situation to address as a result of the testing, so that is good news. Our kids are safe and they're learning and they're supervised, so that's great to know. In terms of that COVID-19 testing, we've expanded that testing now to also include those students who are in school in person. That includes our students in self-contained special education programs, as well as our preschool students. So they have now become part of the group that has the opportunity to be tested. And we have had great numbers in terms of participation in the testing. So that's been going really well, as well as staff who are participating in that. And one of the things that has been great about being able to do the testing on site and having our nurses, our own school nurses trained in conducting the testing, is that when a family is in need or when there's a specific situation and they can't access testing for whatever reason, they're able to do so right there in the district. So that's been a great help. I know, for example, today we helped out 2 families who were in that situation. So it's good to be able to provide that service. I did recently meet with the mayor and our chief of police to discuss how we could expand this to plan a community-wide testing day after the holidays. We do know that people are communicating to us that they're having a difficult time being able to make appointments to get tested, and that their concern is exposure after the holidays, when we know there are many people who are going to continue to travel or convene. So we are hopeful that we can go ahead and provide a community-based testing day for the whole community, not just the district, in early January, and I'll be sending more information on that. And then the next item is really a presentation about our day of dialogue. And for this, I'm going to turn it over to our high school principal, Mr. Ed Bouchard, who's going to really lead his day of dialogue team in helping us better understand what Day of Dialogue is all about and what they took away from this experience. Mr. Bouchard?
Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I do want to thank the board and Ms. Zurcher for having some of the members of the Days of Dialogue team here this evening. And a really special thank you to Ms. Zurcher, because she actually introduced us to the Days of Dialogue, and it was honestly such a great experience. You know, before I actually get started, I'd like to just take a quick minute to introduce some of the team members that are here this evening. We have student Summer DiFilippo, student Gavin Franco, student Mariana Costa, our assistant principal, Miss York, English teacher, Miss Stout, and our student assistance counselor, Miss Joyce. Mr. Dougherty, can you click to the next slide, please? So really what I loved most about the Days of Dialogue, especially as an administrator, was that the Center for Supportive Schools, which actually ran this, I guess, the professional development or conversations with students, was that it created a platform to discuss some extremely tough but necessary topics. You know, it gave our students a platform with other Middlesex County students to have a voice, share ideas, and take the next steps, which is about taking action. You know, on the slide, you can see some of the topics, and right off the bat, they are just topics that are very difficult to have if you're trying to have that deep, honest conversation. So some of the topics included race, ethnicity, socioeconomic inequality, oppression, and then some of the topics that we're going to talk about would be included in this image. Our students that joined us this evening are going to walk you through some of the activities that we participated in, some things we learned, and we would love if you joined us. With that said, I'm going to introduce Summer DiFilippo. Mr. Dougherty, click the button. Yep, right there. Oh, I'm sorry, go back.
Okay, so if you look to the right of this slide, this was actually one of the first images that we were introduced to during the program to spark discussion. And all it's basically showing is that there's 2 different paths, and one of the paths is being followed by a white man, and then the other path is being followed by a member of the minority group. And it's basically depicting like racial injustices and racial hardships between, and like differences between both races, and how the minority groups have a lot more to overcome throughout the same path as opposed to a white man.
Next slide, Mr. Dougherty.
So there's a few goals listed of the Days of Dialogue, and they were to understand shared language, build connections, share meaningful conversations, experience important challenges, and to collaborate. And I think overall, we definitely accomplished most of these goals throughout the whole process. And I really enjoyed it because it felt really good. And I was really grateful to understand other people's point of view within different topics, because with the media and everything nowadays, it's really hard to get an honest opinion out of people without them being like brainwashed by what they see. And everyone was really open and honest throughout the whole thing, and it was really nice to hear.
Next slide. Yep.
So creating a climate of trust. So one of the things we learned was a safe space protocol. So it was literally just by saying the word safe space, and that was the whole objective of it. So this could be used by any member of the group at absolutely any time during group discussions. And there's 2 different ways that you can use the word. So proactively, to help you speak about something you may be nervous to say, you would say safe space to let the group know that you need patience, understanding, and support for whatever it is you are striving to say. So if you were to say something that you know is a really hard topic for you to discuss, then you would say safe space before you begin speaking about what you were about to say, so that everyone would know that this person feels sensitive about what they're about to say and to listen carefully. And reactively is in response to what you've heard, you may have heard someone else say something that distressed you in a personal way. So you would say safe space to let the speaker know that their words had a difficult impact on you. So if someone were to say something that offended you or you didn't feel was right, this is like a calm way to basically say safe space, and then you can react and say how you felt about what they had just said.
So
Now, yep, Gavin Franco.
when did you feel different? I felt different kind of like once I just joined the meeting. Best thing about it was there were so many different kids from different schools, so we got many opinions off everyone. But one time I felt different was being able to see everyone on screen. I saw that some people look different than me, and I'm not like the same as everyone else. You could tell that some people come from different countries, some people speak different languages, and you could tell like their ethnicity. So it goes in with the ethnicity and all the flags you see in one of the pictures. So that was one time I did feel different.
This was actually one of like the big icebreaker activities because, you know, some students coming from, say, districts or towns that they're not necessarily exposed to, say, minority groups or different ethnicities or different socioeconomic backgrounds. This was a way to kind of introduce and break down that barrier to kind of give you an opportunity to share something personal about yourself that made a time that maybe you felt different. And yeah, this was honestly just a really great activity.
Microaggressions are like the things that happen in school that nobody really talks about. Some examples of these are like maybe you hear something in the hallway saying, someone says to someone, "Oh man, you sound so white," and maybe someone says, "Why are Asian people are so smart and they're always in honors classes?" Stuff like this you might hear and you might just walk away and they feel like they can't like make a change, but maybe like stopping and like addressing that situation, that opinion that someone just said could be harmful to whoever that person's hearing that from. Some microaggressions could be intentional and some could be unintentional, but both case, whether both of them, why do people still say this and speak like this? We delved into something that all humans have and no humans can avoid, which is bias, both conscious and unconscious.
And one of the discussions that did come up in some of the groups, I got placed in an administrator group, but something as simple as, you know, a person named with the name of Jose, right? When they apply to jobs, does somebody want to, as soon as they see Jose, do they automatically make assumptions without even thinking about it? And so they gave a story, and I don't know if it was true or not, but Jose had applied to a bunch of jobs, didn't get a phone call, and then he dropped the S and applied as Joe. And all of a sudden those same jobs actually gave him a call for an interview. And it wasn't as something as simple as just his name. And was that implicit or was it unconscious bias? So it was just a really deep conversation to have. And now I'm going to introduce Mariana Costa for taking.
So our next steps in taking action include collaboration with school-based teams, raising awareness through student leaders, increasing the amount and level of dialogue through monthly themed-based discussions, taking positive action in our school to support equity. So we began the People for Change Club, and it focuses on the importance of informing the student body and to gain interest on issues like BLM, mental health awareness, gender equality, and the LGBTQ+ community. Every month, we will be focusing on a new topic of interest to us. For the month of January, we'll be focusing on human trafficking. We want to provide resources, raise awareness, start conversations by highlighting ourselves in the school newspapers, and fundraise by purchasing personalized merchandise from Black-owned businesses.
And lastly, something that we're looking into is creating a peer leadership program and course, really taking the opportunity to create more student leaders. And so when you're able to create a good group of student leaders, they can turnkey with other students. So you take a good group of seniors and you partner them up with incoming freshmen, and eventually within a 4-year cycle, you'll have students that have gone through, say, a full character leadership program. And that is the goal, where we can create students, give them a platform, and give them a voice. I want to thank the students that presented this evening. I want to thank the entire Days of Dialogue team. And I really want to thank once again the board and Ms. Searcher for having us here this evening.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bouchard, and to your team. I can't say enough. It's difficult enough to put yourself out there to present to the Board of Education and present to the public, but then to do so on a sensitive topic on top of that, we really, really have to commend you for joining us tonight and being able to present the information that you took away from the experience that you had. I'm curious if there's been any conversation about how we could begin something that is developmentally appropriate and age appropriate for maybe middle school students. And I'm wondering if the club maybe wants to have some conversation about what that could look like. I feel like the earlier we start to have difficult conversations and real conversations, the better it is. But of course, we have to be very conscientious about the age of our students and what's appropriate too. Any other comments or questions from the board or anyone else joining us tonight?
I think it was a great job. And Ms. Searcher, you had introduced it to the board, and I spoke to you individually about it a while back. And I thought I had a pretty good idea what it was about, but to see it in action and to see the not just the administrators, but the teachers and the students really getting involved like that, I think it's great. Good job.
Also, if I may, Madam President, Mr. Bouchard and kids, I was impressed, not just with the program, that impressed me, but you all impressed me with your presence of mind and your knowledge of what was going on. So congratulations to all of you. Yeah, great job, everyone.
Yeah, great job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for joining us this evening again. My next part of the superintendent's report today actually is going to go to Ms. Urusha, who is joining us also, and she is going to do a brief presentation of the Student Safety Data System report, and I'll turn it over to her for this announcement and report.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to move you all out of the middle of my screen so I can see what's going on. Okay. I hope you're all having a good night. This is the second part of the reporting that I was doing from the last meeting that I saw you. This is from 2020, January to June, second period report. The next slide, Brian. Thanks. The data collection period starts in January and runs through June. There's 5 sections to the report. First is the district piece, and then each of the 4 buildings, primary, elementary, middle, and high school. Section A shows that there were 0 HIB trainings for this period and 0 HIB programs for this period as well. That is due to the fact that all the programs are done in the beginning of the school year. So September and October is when we do our HIB trainings. Same thing for the programs. Even the Week of Respect is done in October along with the School Violence Awareness Week activities. So you'll see those again in the next period 1 report. Primary schools numbers, if you compare January through June's 2020 report for period 2 to January through June's 2019 report, you'll see that the numbers remained the same or went down in each of the areas. This is mostly due to the fact that we weren't in school for part of this period. We were only in for January and February. As of March, we were home, the kids weren't in the buildings, less chance for incidents. You're going to see that pretty much in each of the buildings as we go through the reporting. For the elementary school, same thing. We increased 1 HIB training. That's the only number that went up. Oh no, I'm sorry. We did go up in one incident. That was an added incident. And that was it was a student removed from this school building. Those numbers went down again due to COVID. Middle school, we had, the numbers went up in terms of 1 incident. And they went down in every other area. And again, that's due to COVID, I can only assume. The high school was a bit different. We went down in incidents, but we went significantly up in other incidents leading to removal. In speaking with the administration at the high school, I found that there were quite a few significant incidences in January and February of that year, which raised that number. And then when we went out in March, there were not a lot of incidents that happened, so the number stayed the same. We're continuing with all of the same programs that we had in place. There were not any new initiatives that we took on this year due to the fact that we were experiencing a pandemic and there were not people in the building. One program that we did bring in during this period and before we went out was Effective School Solutions. They're providing us some service with our troubled students who benefit from the more intense counseling that they can provide us. And we have a continuation of our existing programs during remote learning. So you'll see most of these next slides are going to be pictures because everything was virtual. So when the guidance counselors created school spirit weeks or video messages or encouraging messages, it all was sent out to the kids via Google Classroom or ERAMs, and then the kids sent back all of their work in pictures. So that's what you're going to see moving forward. These kids on the right of that slide were the kindness ambassadors for the elementary school. This is the high school. They held this, a self-care spirit week, and the elementary school held a social emotional spirit week in May and June. The students emailed their pictures to their counselors to share for these activities as well. And then we had a Decorate a Rock for Mental Health Awareness Week. The students decorated their rocks on their own at home, placed them somewhere outside with positive messages in their yard, and took pictures of them and sent them into the school as well. There's an example of one in the corner. Actually, there's a few. To support the mental health awareness, all the high school counselors created a really neat website. It's called the Virtual Calming Room. And in this virtual calming room, the kids can go and find a number of resources to help them cope with a variety of the issues that they might have been facing while they weren't in school from March until June. In April, they celebrated Autism Awareness Week. This was, I believe, the high school's Autism Awareness Week activities, and the elementary school also sent home puzzle pieces to the students that they decorated and sent back via email so that we could print them and use them to decorate. In an effort to help students and staff remain positive, during this difficult time, everyone created encouraging signs and posters, and they participated in Chalk Your Walk. The pictures were sent for all of those activities to the guidance counselors, which they shared with the schools. High school continued with the kindness, positivity, encouragement throughout the school closure with these activities. They did 10 minutes, write haikus to a friend and share that with them, and create kindness posters. I believe this was Respect Week. Now, Virtual School Spirit Week, the students participated by sending pictures and artwork into their counselors that they then shared out with the staff at the high school. This is the elementary school. They continued to create bulletin boards that they could share out with the students, and some of the work that the students emailed into the guidance counselor, she would print and she would put up onto these boards. And if you look, the I is missing in kind. It says, be the I in kind. So the students would send in their kind messages to be the I in kind, and they were placed on that yellow partition of the word kind on the wall. And last, although it was virtual, this was when we actually went and participated in the Masonic model in person. We continued to do it virtually this year. Teams learned how to identify, intervene, and create action plans for students with high risk of substance abuse, depression, suicide, violence, and other issues that they might have been experiencing. And this will continue in the future as well. That's the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay.
Good job, Kim.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kim, very well. Job done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody who presented tonight. And then just finally, I really want to wish the board and our South River families a wonderful holiday season. I know it might be a little bit different than it has been in the past, but may it bring you much happiness and joy regardless, and may you make the most of the time. Thank you. And so concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Zurcher. What is the board's pleasure on the superintendent's report?
Move the superintendent's report as read.
We have a motion by Mr. Nielsen. Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosanna.
Yes.
Are there any comments or questions on any items or the presentations?
I think it was very well job done by the kids, and they should be proud of what they're doing. And I think it's going to be a good step moving forward for the district. And I think we should all be proud of the kids stepping up the way they are.
Thank you, Mr. Nielsen. Very well pointed out, especially during these times, huh?
Yes.
Any other board members? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. At this time, we will go to our first public session for this board meeting, and we will open the meeting to the public. At this time, the public may address agenda items only. There will be a session later on in the meeting where the public can address other South River education items. If you would like to, please state your name and address in the chat section of the virtual meeting. And please keep your comments to a 10-minute time limit. And Mr. Dougherty, do we have any public members on the meeting or anybody in the chat section?
No, I don't see anyone in the chat, and it looks like everyone else has left the meeting.
Okay, so then at this time, we will close this public portion of the meeting. And Mr. Kokoska, should we go, or our attorney, should we go through the committee reports and then come back to the consent resolution?
Yes.
You should.
Okay. So then what we will do now is move on to our committee reports and the respective items under those reports. And the first report will be athletics extracurricula. Mr. Budzen.
There's nothing on the agenda for this month.
Okay, thank you. Under Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam President. As you can see, they continue with day-to-day maintenance and whatnots, but they've also have been deep cleaning all our classrooms, furnitures, and fixtures. Sorry about that. My dog was scratching at the door. They've been working nonstop disinfecting and sanitizing each building. In addition, they've been great support to the Chartwell's team as they continue to partner together in providing meals to those that are in need during this time. The maintenance team is still responding to the day-to-day upkeep of the buildings, projects such as replenishment of water pumps at the elementary and middle school, repair of flush valves and thermostats in the primary school refrigerator. They broke down the fall sports bleachers and equipment, just to name a few things. And they went out there. I did get a chance to go out and drive around, and they did a great job in keeping the sidewalks clear and the parking lots open, so the public could at least, move around the district, even though we still don't have school. People were still out walking, and they're doing a great job. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Nielsen. Under Finance, Ms. Lowe.
Thank you. Under Finance, we will start with 8.1, approve, apply, submit grant applications. 8.2, approve IDEA grant carryover funds for the 2021 school year. 8.3, approve contract LifeTouch National School Studios, Inc. photography services provider for the elementary school for the 21-22 school year. 8.4, approve submission of water
I think we may have lost you, Ms. Lowe.
Yeah, her screen went blank.
It did. So she ended with 8 point up.
Oh, she's coming back.
8.5.
Yes.
I read 8.5. Would I need to read it again?
Could you please?
Yes, definitely. I was wondering why it wasn't moving. And then I realized I was ahead of him. And I'm like, where did he go? It was me that went. 8.5, approve COVID-19 testing services, Capitol Health, Synergy Labs 2021 school year. 8.6, approve school security grant application for the 2021 school year. 8.7, approve memorandum of understanding Center for Supportive Schools Day of Dialogue services provider for the 2021 school year. 8.8, approve ESEA consolidated carryover grant application for the 2021 school year. 8.9, 10, and 11 are our usual tax requisition line item transfers requisition list. And 8.12 was an addition to approve additional funding ESEA Title I School Improvement Award grant application for the 2021 school year. And that is all I have this evening.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments on the finance items? Seeing none, we'll go to the Instruction Committee. Mr. Rosanna.
Thank you, Madam President. There's only one item on the agenda tonight under instruction. That's 9.1. Approve home instruction services 2020-2021 school year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any board members have any questions in that regard? The next committee report is negotiations. I do not know of any items on the agenda. Mr. Parton, do you have any updates on negotiations, or Ms. Zurcher?
Just generally, Mrs. Urbanik, we will be starting collective bargaining with the SRAA shortly after the holiday break.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next committee report is policy and legislation. Mr. Rashitar.
Thank you, Mrs. Urbanik. There is nothing to report, nothing on the agenda for policy and legislation.
Okay, our next committee report is Human Resources. Vice President Bush.
Yes, we have 14 items on the agenda this evening. 12.1, approve resignation, Sema Wolf, occupational therapist. 12.2, approve resignation for retirement, Amy Bauer, speech language pathologist. 12.3, approve extension, Lisa Malik Gaspar, school occupational therapist, leave of absence, 2020-2021 school year. 12.4, approve appoint Sylvia Zurcher, representative to the Representative Assembly of the Educational Service Commission of New Jersey. That's a long one. 12.5, approve appoint mentor the 2020-2021 school year. 12.6, to approve additional co-curricular staff at the high school 2020-2021 school year. 12.7, approve payment for remote learning center staff stipend for the 2020-2021 school year. 12.8, approve appoint Jeffrey Cook, high school art teacher, 2020-2021 school year. 12.9, approve appoint Pamela Moya, high school leave replacement art teacher, 2020-2021 school year. 12.10, approve payment of staff members for 7th period class coverage at the middle school, 2020-2021 school year. 12.11, approve disability leave, Hani Hanich, high school French teacher, 2020-2021 school year. 12.12, approve intermittent family leave, Jennifer Malik, school psychologist, 2020-2021 school year. 12.13, approve appoint additional volunteer coach for the 2021 school year. And 12.14, approve appoint Alexis Richards, Middlesex middle school art teacher, 2020-2021 school year. And I apologize if I mispronounced any names, but that is all I have this evening.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions on those items under human resources? Okay, under safety and risk management, Mr. Basak.
Thank you, Madam President. One item on this evening's agenda, item 13.1, accept 2020-2021 bus drills. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. If any board members have any questions for safety and risk management?
No.
Okay, seeing none at this time, we will have the consent resolution for those committee reports and the items under those committees. Mr. Kokoska.
The South River Board of Education, by means of a consent resolution, adopt various resolutions of a routine and non-controversial nature at one time. Whereas the below listed resolutions are hereby adopted by said Board of Education in whole, as if the same were individually acted upon. Under the Superintendent's Report 3.2, Finance 8.1 through 8.12, Instruction 9.1, Human Resource 12.1 through 12.14, and Safety and Risk item 13.1.
Thank you. Is there a motion for that?
Nielsen.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen, second by Mr. Rosano. Are there any comments or questions or any abstentions? Mr. Kokoska, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bazak?
Yes.
Mr. Budson?
Yes.
Mrs. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. Lell?
Yes.
Mr. Nielsen?
Yes.
Mr. Rosano?
Yes.
Mr. Rashatar?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbanek?
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. At this time, we are going to move on to the remainder of the committee reports, beginning with school community relations. Ms. Sadowski.
Thank you. There are 5 press releases tonight. The first one is the Governor's Educator of the Year program. The New Jersey Teacher of the Year program and the Governor's Teacher Educational Services Professionals Recognition Program have been integrated into the Governor's Educator of the Year program. This program highlights educational innovation, student achievement, and the rewards of teaching and the important services outside of the classroom environment that lead to student success. Any educators nominated for this award must meet the following requirements: be an exceptionally skilled and dedicated licensed classroom teacher where teaching is the primary responsibility rather than administrative or supervisory responsibilities, or an educational service professional who is listed as one of the eligible enrollment areas. Must have the latest summative rating of the least effective. If the teacher or the ESP has not received the rating at the time of the application, then their most current practice rating should be the least effective or the equivalent. To be an expert in the field who inspires students of all backgrounds and abilities to learn, actively collaborates with colleagues, students, and families to create a strong culture of respect and success, demonstrate leadership and innovation in educational activities at the school, district, and/or state and national levels that take both within and outside the community settings, have the respect and administration of students, parents, and colleagues. And we are pleased to announce that the following district staff members have been nominated to receive this award. For the high school, John Karen, Teacher of the Year, and Deborah Pfeiffer is the Educational Service Professional. For the middle school, Dawn Jordan is Teacher of the Year, and Patricia Pankos, Educational Service Professional. The elementary school, Nicole Logan is Teacher of the Year, and Jody Evantigo, Educational Service Professional. And at the primary school, Stacy Luchensky is Teacher of the Year. For the second press release is the SRFEE grant. The South River Foundation for Educational Excellence is proud to announce that the availability of funds to award one mini grant to each of the 4 South River public schools. It is our sincere hope that our mission statement to ensure the highest level of educational innovation supporting students, faculty, and staff with community involvement and a partnership of lifetime learning will be kept in mind while formulating ideas for submission of the grant applications. Our organization would like to encourage our teachers to be the driving force behind the suggestions for the grant applications, since they are the direct link to our students in making the magic happen. More than one teacher from each building is welcome to apply. The grant application can be found at the website www.srfee.org. All completed applications must be emailed, and a hard copy must be sent to the South River Foundation for Educational Excellence at 15 Montgomery Street. All grant applications must be received no later than Friday, February 12th, 2021. The third press release is for the SRFEE fundraising. The South River Foundation for Educational Excellence hopes to find you and your family well during this challenging time and unique holiday season. Due to current circumstances, we are unable to host our 6th annual dinner dance, which has become our major and most popular annual fundraiser. Despite the current climate, we remain committed to have a 6th season in Helping South River Schools Succeed initiative. Shortly, we will begin our annual SRFEE grant application process to allow South River Schools personnel to apply for supplemental funding for their classes. In addition, we would like to allocate and distribute scholarship monies to our graduating seniors. We can use a helping hand from you. If you're willing, please consider donating the following ways that you can pledge. The ways you can pledge are if you are a current or a former SRFEE member, a regular dinner dance guest, or a past SRFEE Hall of Fame honoree, please consider pledging. The dance ticket cost is $70. However, any donation amount would be greatly appreciated. You can also take advantage of employer matching donation programs at your place of employment. You can also donate via PayPal, and checks and money orders can be sent to 15 Montgomery Street. And all pledges and donations made before December 31st, 2020 are tax deductible for this year. The SRFEE would like to thank you in advance for any of the pledges and appreciate your thoughts throughout this time. The 4th press release is the Student of the Month at the high school. The South River High School is proud to honor one student each month as the South River High School Student of the Month. Students are chosen based on their exemplary status as a model student throughout community service, academic record, modeling the Strive for 5 core ethical values of respect, responsibility, honesty, kindness, and service, and maintaining exemplary behavioral and attendance record. A biography for the December 2020 Student of the Month follows. Moise Sabir has been chosen as the December Student of the Month due to his strong commitment to community service as well as his outstanding and diversified leadership roles. Moise is an active member of the Nurses Hassan, where he teaches new members and children in meal serving procedures. He is also a member of the National Honor Society, where he actively participates in many service projects. Moise holds a leadership positions in various organizations within South River High School. He is the drum major for the marching band, past librarian, and current band president, as well as past electrical captain and current president of the robotics club. Moise maintains an excellent GPA, works at a summer internship every year, where he has become proficient in installing computer software, hardware, and operating systems. Congratulations, Moise. And the last press release is for the middle school November Students of the Month. For grade 6, for ELA, Lamise Allward. For math, Alexander Petrov. For science, Jewel Roos. Social studies, Miranda Lizardo. ESL, Juan Garcia. For PE, Sunny Lapadura. And for Cycle, Lucy Silva. For grade 7, for ELA, Kevin Police. For math, Sunny Lapadura. Science, Andy Garcia. Social studies, Latifa D'Souza. For PE, Cindy Ringel. And for Psycho, Diogo Estevez. And for grade 8, for ELA, Carlos Gonzalez and Brian Pereira. For math, Haley Delgado. Science, Rafael Siete. For social studies, Shay Ramirez. For PE, Brian Costa. And for Cycle, Samuel Caldadas. And that's all I have for tonight.
Those are quite some very nice press releases.
Yes.
Just going back to the Student of the Month, to our superintendent's comment earlier when she said, how do they find time to do all this? It's very impressive. I just really am impressed. It's something. So our next committee.
Madam President?
Yes.
Did we miss Brian Pereira? There's some in grade 8 under Carlos Gonzalez.
I thought I said him.
I had
I'm
a
sorry.
glitch on my thing, so I wasn't sure if I heard it or not. I just want to make sure we didn't leave any child out.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good catch, good point. The next committee report is yours, Mr. Nielsen, School Board Borough Council Liaison Committee.
Nothing. Everybody's in transition. We'll see what happens comes at their January reorganization meeting, Madam President.
Yes, we will. Thank you. And our PTA liaison, Ms. Sadowski.
Thank you. The primary, elementary, and middle school PTAs all organized holiday spirit weeks last week and continued through this week. And I have also not been aware of any current fundraisers taking place at this time due to the upcoming holidays and winter break.
Thank you. Our South River Public Library liaison, Mr. Budzen.
Well, the library is decorated for Christmas, and they have some nice Christmas villages set up. So if you have the time, stop by. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Is that inside or outside or both, Mr. Budzen?
Inside. They got the miniature villages and it's all set up. Plus the Christmas tree.
And our South River Foundation for Educational Excellence liaison, Mr. Rashikar.
Thank you, Mrs. Urbanek, and I want to thank Mrs. Sadowski. All those press releases are really all that I wanted to talk about. If people understand, and I've said it before, that the foundation is having difficulty this year raising funds in the virtual environment. But there's several ways that people can donate. The major fundraiser was a dinner dance, so we're not having it this year. If indeed people were planning to go, or if you're a pass honoree, it would be appreciated if you would donate the price of the ticket. Also, one thing that I didn't catch, whether you said it or not, Nicole, if you purchase through Amazon, if you do smile.amazon.com, you'll get an opportunity to click the foundation, and Amazon will donate a small percentage of your purchase price to the foundation. That's all I have to say.
Okay, and there's a lot of online purchasing going on from what I see. That's good. Our student board representative has been excused for this evening. And how about our attorney, Mr. Parton? Anything for us?
We will talk a little bit in executive session, but no, I do not have anything for public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there any old or new business?
Madam President, if I may.
Yes, you may.
It's not really old or new business, but I just want to say something very briefly. As many of you know, this is my last board meeting in South River. I want to thank the people of South River for putting their confidence in me and electing me in 3 consecutive terms. I want to thank all of my current and past colleagues on the board. I've worked with, there wasn't a bad board member in the lot, I'll tell you. You were all terrific. Now, Nicole, I didn't get a chance to know you as a board member, but I knew you as a student.
Yes.
I knew your sister as a student.
Yes.
I knew your father as a student. And I knew your uncle as a student. And I knew you all, and I still know you all, as very fine people. You come from a great family.
Thank you.
And I have no doubt that you're going to be as good as any other board member that ever sat in that seat.
Thank you. I
Any
appreciate
seat for
it.
that matter.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll be around now and then to keep an eye on you, so don't worry. And to my colleagues on the board right now, currently, you have been a wonderful enhancement to my life. You really have. But I know that sounds a little corny, but I really mean it. I mean, you have all made my life better in one way or another. And I appreciate that. And so have the other board members with whom I serve. And our staff, I can't tell you how proud I am of our staff. Dedicated group of employees in all levels and all areas. And I was lucky to be allowed to work with them. So I think I've waxed enough, waxed sentimental enough, I guess I should say. And I'll be around. You never know when I might pop up to tell you a joke. But Kevin, I leave the
Yes,
joke
sir.
telling. I leave the joke telling to you.
All right, Tony, I'll brush up on my skills.
Yes, and I knew Kevin as a student too, and as a person, and his brothers and sisters, and his family, another terrific family in South River.
All right, thank you, Tony.
Well, you deserve that. You really do, and please convey that to everyone. Nicole, you too, please convey that to your family. Okay, terrific people. South River's the better because you're in it.
Well, thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Rosanna, thank you. Thank you for your years of service in our community, especially on this Board of Education, and also as an educator in town. Do any other board members have any other comments at this time for Rosanna? Please.
Tony, I'm going to miss you tremendously. It's Renee. I don't know if you could see me. I can see you.
I can't see it, but I know your voice.
You can hear me.
Yes.
I thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure to work with you on the board and again on the instruction committee. And I'm going to miss you. But if you need anything, you know to call.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Tony, it's Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hi. I wanted to thank you for mentoring me for the past year or so. You've taught me a
It
lot.
was my pleasure, Dave. Thank you for
Also,
asking me.
You know, you immediately remember my daughters. So you were a remarkable teacher. They all remember you. And I think you've been a remarkable member of the board, and you'll be missed. Best of luck in the next year. It's going to be a better year for all of us, I hope.
Thank you kindly.
Tony, if I may, I'd like to just echo the same thoughts. You've been an inspiration to me also, and I'm going to miss you. But again, you need anything, you know how to get in touch with me.
Ray, thank you so much.
Yeah, Tony, I have to say, you know, as a student, as a board member, and as a friend, definitely going to miss you here at the meetings and your jokes. I'll try to fill your shoes as bad as I can. And, you know, it's been wonderful. Don't be a stranger. You know, now that I'm retired, if you ever need somebody to chit chat with, just give me a shout and we'll hook up.
Thank you, Kevin.
Take care, Tony.
Just one more thing. The main reason, for the public's edification, the board knows this, but the main reason I'm leaving is reasons of poor health. It's not that I'm mad at anybody or anything like that. It's just, my health is not good, and a couple of people in my family need some medical issues, have some medical issues as well. That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Cindy, may I add something?
Of course, please do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can't get rid of me, Tony, because
I know.
I have your grandchild.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, Liz is my former daughter-in-law,
Yes,
and her son Nick is my grandson Nick.
right. And being former ended up meaning nothing for us as we went
Right,
through
we're
the
still
past
family.
15 years, because we are still family.
Yep.
When we get together or when we would save seats, my mom would make sure she saved for you guys, just like you made sure you saved for my parents. But I've watched you progress from being a classroom teacher into a board member. At one point in time, you were my SREA president when I worked in this district as a teacher. So I do know that you have made some long-lasting relationships based on the person that you are. So for that, I think you've put us all in a better place. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz, and give your mom my love, please.
I will.
Tony, I wanted to give the board members an opportunity to speak, but I also want to say how much I have valued your role on the board, how much I've appreciated the historical context you've always given to everything that we've discussed, and just also how much I will miss you as well.
Thank you, Sylvia. And I just want to say to you that when we hired you, we hit a home run. We really did. You are an amazing superintendent and an amazing person. We're lucky to have you here. Don't go anywhere.
Gotta agree with him on that one.
Are there any other board members that have any old or new business or any other?
If I may, Madam President?
Please do.
I just wanted to thank everybody that was involved with the Adopt a Family program, which is a program that I feel is really necessary and dear to my heart. I also want to thank Deb Napolitano for all she does for being an advisor to the program. She does a lot of hard work, and especially now. I mean, and I wanted to thank everybody that made donations, because their donations are really going to help some people during these difficult times. And that's all I have.
Cindy, if I may, I would like to bring something up.
Please do.
So to the board members, Cindy and I have been talking about getting together next week to formulate the committees for next school year. Well, next year, 2021 year, not next school year, but next year, next term. So Sylvia, if you don't mind asking Deb to send out the email request to see who would like to be on which committees. Cindy and I are asking that you please list like your top 3 committees that you'd like to be on, preferably in, preferential order. And then she and I will work next week on that. And then we will see everybody January 4th.
Okay. We'll do it
Thank you.
tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, thanks.
Great, thank you very much. So at this time, the next item on our agenda is our payment of bills. Ms. Lowe.
Thank you. The Finance Committee recommends that all bills presented having been certified by the School Business Administrator Board Secretary be paid as listed, and I so move.
There's a motion by Ms. Lowe. Is there a second?
Nielsen.
Mr. Nielsen has the second. Are there any comments or questions on the bill list? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
You too, Tony.
You too, Tony. At this time, we are going to open the meeting for our second public session.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam President.
And that will be, Merry Christmas is always in order, I think.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if you'll find that in Robert's rules, but you could put it in there. So, under reception of visitors, at this time, the public may address any concern or comment they have for the board. Would you please state your name and address in the chat section of the virtual meeting? And please keep your comments to a 10-minute limit. Again, I'm going to ask Dougherty to check if there is anybody in the public raising their hand or has typed anything in the chat section.
No, there's nothing further right now. It seems like everyone from the public has left.
Okay, so we are going to then close this public portion, and the board is going to enter into executive session. And with that, be it resolved that pursuant to sections 7 and 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, the following subjects be discussed at a session of the Board of Education closed to the public. And that is for attorney-client privilege. And it is presently anticipated that the items to be discussed in closed session can be disclosed to the public when resolved. May we have a motion?
Nielsen.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen,
Second?
second by Mr. Basak.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kokoska, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bazak?
Yes.
Mr. Budson?
Yes.
Mrs. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. Lowe?
Yes.
Mr. Nielsen?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanno?
Yes.
Mr. Rashatar?
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbanek?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, anyone who's not a board member, they could leave the meeting at this time. I'm going to give hosting rights back to Mrs. Zurcher, please.